Welcome back to Wellness Wave Radio. Thanks for tuning in this morning to ride the wave with us. Each week our goal is to give you at least one suggestion that will make your life a little better. My name is Phil George. I'm a clinical biochemist, certified personal trainer, and a health coach. Please remember, everything we discuss on the show is for informational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice. Always seek the guidance of your medical professional or contact Dr. Emily Cabrera.
Oh, Lord. Here we go. Here we go.
Dr. Emily, can you please introduce yourself and introduce our new guest here, Jamie?
Yes, so I'm Dr. Emily Cabrera. I'm a psych mental health nurse practitioner, and I own my own business, Dual Minds Integrative Psychiatry, right off of Burncoat Street in Worcester. Whoop, whoop. And we are very excited to have Jamie McDonald, who is a paramedic and saves all the lives at UMass and in charge of District 7 critical incident stress management team. What else did I miss?
Mental health first aid instructor.
Mental health first aid instructor. Yep.
And actually, we did a whole show, a radio show, and we talked basically about first responders, and that was one of the things. And I think, Dr. Emily, with your new building, your new business, we're hoping to get a lot more first responders in there, because as you can imagine, and I think we went back and forth with this with the ADHD, and I think, Jamie, you said that probably all of the first responders got ADHD.
Should be a prerequisite.
And why
Should be in the job description. It really should.
ADHD expert.
why do you think that most first responders are really drawn to a job like first responding?
You either find out in a hurry that you can't do it, or you do it and thrive. There's really no in between. And when you thrive at something, you get all the rewards of it: physical, mental, in some cases spiritual. So it draws you back every time. We deal with a lot of bad, but that one good outcome makes all the bad worth it. And there's no higher high.
Can you talk a little bit about the dopamine chasing?
That
happens?
That's what we live for. We wake up in the morning to put our uniform on, it starts flowing. We're getting into that readiness, getting that I want to respond mode, and you get up to a 4 or a 5 in the grand scheme of things, where most people live at 1. And at work, my wife calls it getting into work mode. And we get into work mode, and we're ready to go. At a moment's notice, we go from 5 to 10, because that's a lot easier than going from 0 to 10. And once we hit 10, it comes back down very slow. And by slow, I mean days or a week. And to get back to 0 or 1, it physiologically takes 2 weeks. Good self-care to get all that catecholamines out of your system. What happens is we get addicted to it, and we find ways to recreate it. A lot of risky behaviors with driving too fast. A lot of people have motorcycles. People will go skydiving. Rock climbing is popular, which is all healthy coping skills, but generally risky behavior, because they want that dopamine rush, that flow of chemicals that we all become addicted to.
Okay, can Emily, did you want to let the viewers know what exactly is dopamine?
Yeah, so dopamine is kind of, it gives you that mirrors of, I guess, fight or flight too.
It's the pleasure senses. You feel good. That's what all the drugs try to mimic, the massive dopamine release.
In your brain, you have thousands of neurotransmitters. We only know a handful. I think like 100 have been explored in psychiatry, but we have thousands of neurotransmitters, and dopamine is one of the most crucial ones to keep your body in balance. You can connect it to the central nervous system, that fight or flight, or the rest and digest. And the problem is when people stay in that fight or flight. And they're doing it on purpose.
Yes.
This isn't a non-purposeful where you're walking down a street and you're just a little nervous. They have to be in that sense of response, because they can't respond to the chaos that's happening unless their body is in that.
And I think for the viewers, the other thing with dopamine, casinos use this all the time, dopamine. And what they
Pleasure.
what they found with dopamine, what happens, you get a certain positive reinforcement from it, and then you want to do it again. So it's a way you want to do it over again. So in other words, you go somewhere and you get that rush, that dopamine, that feel good, I want to do it again. That's what happens. People go into the gym sometimes.
Yep.
They hate going to the gym, but once they go there, they come, that's going to make me feel good.
Yeah.
So actually, this goes back to evolutionary biology. I love this, evolutionary biology. So why did we develop dopamine? So the reason we developed dopamine is because we won't die. Because what happens is, you go out there and you kill the dinosaur and eat the dinosaur. That made me feel good. So you get motivated. Dopamine's released. I want to go out and kill that dinosaur again because that made me feel.
I want to eat
Because I want to eat
and survive.
So what it is, it's a way basically for us to survive, in that we can go out and do it again, and that's what Foxwoods does. They get you in there. And the other thing we mentioned before on the show is what happens. They found out people became addicted to the gambling. Not so much winning or losing; it's that anticipation of I may win.
Yep.
I may win, and they know enough times to give you just enough wins to keep you going, right?
And then ring the bells and flash the lights and
Yep.
make all that stuff happen. They come over and
Neurosensory.
congratulate you and, hey, you won 100 quarters, yay.
The hard part with first responders too is as their body is adapting to that and constantly living in like that dopamine surge kind of feel of the 5 to 10-ish range, right? Like 0 to 10. What happens when you come down? And then you have a lot of traumas that you're exposed to, and when you come down, those rush in your brain. Yeah. So that's where those poor coping mechanisms kind of jump in because they have to survive. It makes sense. Your body's trying to adapt. We just need to do it appropriately.
And Jamie,
Healthy.
we talked on the show too about the PTSD. You want to cover that a little bit?
Oh, that I think that's a direct result of
Yeah.
the trauma we deal with, and the dopamine and the catecholamines, and that all wash out into cortisol, and cortisol is the big stress hormone, and it does a number on you if you're not managing it well. To touch on the 5 to 10, you'll find, generally speaking, that paramedics and other first responders have a steady affect. It's usually a depressed affect, but it's steady because we don't get too high when things get really good. We save a life or deliver a baby or something happy. We get that rush from it, but it's not as high as it could be because the lows are really low, and we don't allow ourselves to get that low until it all comes piling down on you.
And that's when they come see me,
Well,
which sometimes is good and bad.
yeah, good healthy coping would involve you right from the beginning,
Yep.
or a therapist that is understanding of the type of work we do. Cultural competency is essential for working with first responders. Knowing what we do is essential, because when we come in and want to talk about something, wanting to talk about something is not common for us. So when we come in guns blazing, throwing grenades, and unculturally competent, if that's the way to say it, won't be able to handle it. I have actually gone into a therapist, and unfortunately for her, it was our first meeting, and I came in after a particularly stressful night. And
Unfortunately, or fortunately?
unfortunately for her, because
Fortunately, you stopped it soon.
no, she stopped it 20 minutes into it because she was crying and couldn't handle me. And I found myself trying to console her and apologizing for putting this out on her where I was paying her to.
Hello.
So, cultural competency is essential for dealing with some of the stuff we deal with.
Yeah.
But it was interesting about, in terms of the rush, people don't realize. You've probably heard of things where in an emergency situation, a mother literally lifting a car.
Yeah.
You heard of that? Do you know how that happens? I just found out how that happens. What happens is you have something in your body. It's called Golgi tendon organs, and what it does, it's a fail-safe. So your body knows you can't lift this heavy thing because you're gonna break your muscles. But what happens when your brain realizes this is a life or death situation, it shuts
Kicks
down the
into gear.
Golgi tendon organ, and you can had a woman lift a car off of her and just literally throw it. So we have no idea how strong we actually are, what we can actually do.
Well, what happens is, our strength is limited by pain, right? So when you're lifting something really heavy, you stop when it hurts. And when you're not feeling pain, it
Just keep
doesn't
going.
hurt, you keep going. And then when you get that adrenaline, you get that sudden surge, you can not feel pain and, respond to whatever the threat may be. And, when you're dealing with those situations or you're on drugs like PCP, they have superhuman strength because they're not feeling anything and they don't respond to pain. And, there was one situation in particular I was involved in where this guy was flipping out and police arrested him, and he was in the back of the police car and he broke both his arms trying to get out of the handcuffs. And both arms were broken and he was still pulling, trying to get the handcuffs off. And, there's not a lot you can do about that. And we had to, challenge him with other medicines that were, grossly ineffective because the amount of medicine he was on, not exactly medicine, but essentially the same
mind
thing.
altering, yeah.
Yeah, essentially the same thing. He wasn't feeling anything and there's nothing we could give him to make it feel better or make it feel. And, we ended up having to knock him out.
And again, most people never go through what first responders go through. I mean, they may have once in their life or twice, but you guys do this on a daily basis. And I think that's one of the things we talked about also on the show is you need somebody that understands it, that's been through the war, that's been through it. And I think the word you used was cultural competence.
Yes.
So, and I think that's one of the things. Let's talk a little bit, Dr. Emily, about your new business now in terms of dealing with first responders and maybe helping them.
Well, I definitely think that one of the things that makes what my vision is with my office and what I want to do with that space so important is because I do understand. I spent more than a decade at the bedside in the ICU, so you were pre-hospital, but then you sent it over and I kept them alive afterwards. And there was days when numerous people were coding, and to even intubate somebody, that can be very upsetting for someone who hasn't shut down their brain enough in order to see past that to keep the person alive. So it doesn't have to be like someone's dying, but you have to understand that dynamic. And if you're talking with people who have to have that on, they can't shut those both biological and emotional factors off because they need to do it for their job. Well, you got to meet them somewhere. So that my vision, my hope, which I think is coming to fruition, it's been about a year in the making, is that we can really have a great resource for people to come, like first responders, to just get help, be proactive rather than reactive, And that's ultimately what led me to leave the ICU, and I miss that time. And then I also realized that if I had stayed there, I would be much worse off mentally, Maybe a mental breakdown or something, because you can only take so much of it. Do you know what I mean? Without getting help.
Yeah, it's the the common vernacular is the backpack analogy, throwing rocks in the backpack. I've never carried a backpack full of rocks, so I call it a laundry basket. I know what the laundry basket is. We fill up the laundry basket. We start to feel the weight of the laundry basket, so we throw it in the closet because we're not going to do laundry. We're just going to keep wearing new clothes. And that's a coping skill. We just keep going, do what we need to do and not what we have to do. And we fill up that closet eventually, and then we fill up the laundry basket and we go to throw it in the closet and everything comes tumbling out. And then now we got to sort through it. Some of it we can just throw away. We're never going to wear it again. Some of it we have to wash and dry and, fold it up, put it away. Some of it has to be...
Which could be painful.
Yeah, yeah.
Quite literally.
Some of it has to be, handled a little more carefully with some spot treatment and, wash it, dry it, with light colors and all this stuff, and then you iron it and hang it up. And then there's the stuff that, you know, you have to take to the dry cleaner, which is the professional help to clean these memories, if you will, where they need to be pre-treated, specially handled, washed in a special way, then starched, hung up, wrapped in plastic and put in a special place in the closet, so you still have it. You can't get rid of it because it's part of you.
It's just not consuming you.
And then you know exactly where it is, so it falls out on you.
But I think in essence, we're talking about stress for everybody,
Yeah.
whoever that is, but just listeners to know a little bit. So basically, you only can be in one or two states. You can be in what they call sympathetic or parasympathetic. So sympathetic
That's
is
the fight or flight
fight or flight.
versus the rest and
Right.
digest.
So what happens is, and again, going back to evolutionary biology, is what happens, we get two main directives as a smart monkey. Number one is not to die. Number one is to reproduce. So in other words, if we're constantly watching out for that leopard and we're constantly in that sympathetic, we release a lot of cortisol, we shut down our immune system, we shut down our digestive system, we shut down our reproduction. Everything's shut down to get it ready to run away from that tiger coming out of the bushes. So we never have a chance for our body to regenerate itself.
Well, it's not just emotional that winds up happening. You know, we're talking specifically first responders, but I think you can add on veterans on top of that.
It's same job, different uniform.
Yep, and many of the other healthcare professions. We all kind of identify together because you have to have that hypervigilance of what you're talking about. The problem is, you know, long-term mental load certainly has an effect on your body physiologically, but staying in that fight or flight, like you were talking about with the catecholamines and your steroid production, and it really messes with your body. So if you're going to a provider that only deals with, here's the med, I want you to take Prozac or Wellbutrin, whatever it is, that can be very powerful, but it's also, in essence, a Band-Aid. You have to tackle the mind and the body together. So, you know, what happens long term? They have high blood pressure, you know, they have a risk for having a stroke, like they wind up having extra fat in places that they probably shouldn't because, you know, it's unhealthy for them. The list can just go on and on. They could have mental load where now they wind up having forgetfulness, but it's from the trauma and the stress. So if we can weed through that, fabulous.
But I think the difference is what you do, Dr. Emily, is you take a holistic approach. I know that's an overused word. You mentioned doctors, what happens, it's an easy fix. So you're stressed, we're going to give you a Valium.
Yeah, we're the pill culture.
You got
Yes.
high blood pressure, we're
Yes.
going to give you an antihypertensive. You've got this, we just piled the pill on one pill on top of the other one.
Oh, you're having side effects from a pill? Here's another
Here's
pill.
enough. You know, and then you have a profession where if you're under certain substances, they won't allow you to work. So
Or
if
you can't function.
you can't, aside from just functioning like a normal person. But, you know, you talk about police officers, if you're on certain mental health medications, which they're afraid that the provider is going to try to prescribe that, they just won't go because they need their job and they need their gun, right? Or the understanding that there's alternatives, right? Like, so you might not need to be on a pill or the smallest dose or what works well for you. That's my goal.
Or there's breathing
other options.
techniques. There's method. There's all type of different techniques that you can do. That again, that most allopathic Western doctors are not going to deal with because they get 10 minutes. It's diagnose and adios.
Have you had a Western medicine doctor talk to you about box breathing?
No, I discovered it online with one of the courses I was taking. And it was described as tactical breathing because it was developed by the military to calm snipers so they would shoot straighter, more consistently.
Best thing ever.
Yeah,
Box breathing.
it's literally shifting your body out of fight and flight into the feed and, you know, rest and digest.
Rest and digest, right?
So, yeah.
The calm. Nobody even needs to know that you're doing it.
No.
But if your providers aren't even talking about simple stuff like this, or diet, protein. Protein is the best thing for you when you're
Diet
in.
and lifestyle changes?
Yes.
Give me a pill. That's so much easier.
Oh gosh.
Next thing you're going to tell me to do is exercise. Jeez.
Right? But if you're gonna grab something that's quick, instead of the cherry icy at the 7-Eleven, grab a scoopful of peanut butter. You'll get much better, longer term effects to feed your brain than you will with the.
Right, there's so many free non-pharmaceutical ways of doing it, but again, allopathic Western medicine that's not in their wheelhouse. They never learned it in medical school.
No.
They never learned it. They
don't
never
have
learned it
time.
anywhere. And
Yeah.
and God bless doctors. I mean, if you come in and you got to break your arm, acute care, we're the best in the world, huh?
Yeah.
Acute care,
Yeah.
chronic care, not so much.
But the expected life expectancy has gone way up due to the fact that Western medicine is therapeutic
great-
in a lot of cases.
Yep.
But not health
But
expectancy.
right.
You can-
We tend to be on a handful of pills treating high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, asthma, or
Yeah.
depression, anxiety, and all that stuff.
We
Because
call
of,
it fibromyalgia.
but
That is like the term that they
the
give.
level of stress that
Yes.
first responders are at consistently
Yes,
has a toll on you.
it does.
And they see numbers and they respond to numbers with pills.
Yeah.
And high blood pressure. Well, what's causing the high blood pressure? I don't know. It's just high, and you take this pill and it goes down.
It's a medical term for that. It's called idiopathic.
Because you're doing it to yourself. It's your job.
Here it is.
The cause is idiopathic. Oh, thank you very
We
much.
don't know.
Which means I don't know.
We don't know.
The doctor, I don't want to say I don't know.
Right.
I'm going to say it's idiopathic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Or-
Emily, what's your problem? Oh, it's idiopathic. Oh, really?
Or go get another job. Right. Oh, well,
Yeah.
this is what I do.
Yeah, no,
What are you talking
There
about?
is no substitute.
No.
And there's only certain, I think they say 2 to 3% of the world can do what I do.
So then there's a lot of people who do what you do but don't know how to do it?
I firmly believe it's 1%.
I'm sure.
And, the 1% that can do this job and do it successfully and thrive in it are the ones that need to be doing it,
Yeah.
because you can't have any success in it if you can't find the way to do it.
Right. It's like the Navy SEALs, right? So many go into that thing, and so few come out of it. It's the same thing. There's not many people that have the temperament that be able to do it, or the neurological patterns you're talking about. Maybe the deficient in dopamine or whatever it is, to be able to run at that speed.
Well, that's where some of the integrative psychiatry, my business, my
Practice.
Thank you. I was trying to think of that word, right? Dual Minds Integrative Psychiatry, that's what it's founded on. So I wind up doing a lot of supplements, and it is some with diet. You can get diet. You can exchange, like, here's a supplement pill, and if you think you have a good enough diet regimen, well, then maybe you can make it up through your diet. But a lot of people just don't, and our food is malnourished to begin with. But the supplements that are chosen, specifically just talking about supplements, they are meant purposefully to create neurosynaptic repair. So while they make you feel good, and most people, like L-theanine, we've been talking about that. That's kind of like the supplement world of Xanax, right? The goal is to fix those neurosynapses in order to better utilize what neurotransmitter you produce yourself. So it's really purposeful, and people just don't know about it. So if we can keep you off of Ativan, which is a horrible drug to withdraw from, right? Like, you take a couple of Ativan and it feels great, but people start to abuse it pretty quickly.
It's pretty easily addictive.
And it's very, very addictive.
And the whole thing now is that with Jordan Peterson they came
I
out
know.
with. That's
Side
all over,
effects.
that's all over the news right now, and he's
Yeah.
got awful. These things can cause all kinds of neurological problems.
Oh, yeah.
So anybody will tell you. We had Dr. Donna Bartlett that teaches pharmacology at Mass School of Pharmacy. She's been on this show. She's been on a couple of other shows. and she wrote a book called MedStrong, and I like to call it the anti-pharmacist because she tries to get you off the drugs.
That's my goal.
Yeah.
Or
And
the
so-
least amount
Yeah.
of the dose
Yeah, so
possible.
or you can substitute it with with a supplement. And most drugs come from supplements. We talked about this.
Yeah.
Aspirin comes from the willow bark tree. So I mean, it's not like somebody they invented in a lab. They just took it, found a way to reproduce it, and there's so many like that.
You know, modern medicine gets involved in it, and they engineer it to be,
Mess it up.
yeah, they engineer it to be something that it wasn't supposed to be, especially in the dose that they give it. When you eat right with proper food nutrition, you get different dosages of different nutrients and vitamins and minerals and stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, nowadays, like she touched on, the food isn't the same. It's already nutrient deficient because the way they mass produce everything is, you know, robbing the soil.
Yeah, they
of
call it,
everything.
monocropping.
Yeah.
I mean, now Emily went out to a farm actually in Barrie, and the whole thing is what they do is the old farmers, they wouldn't plant the same crop in the same place over and over again because it takes all the nutrition. I think I heard 50% of the vegetables now are deficient they
Yep.
were 20 years ago. So even though you're eating the broccoli you're eating, there's not enough nutrients in there.
Or what type of farming they're doing. So like the farm that we went out to, they've sent newsletters to me because I signed up for the email. And I think it's fabulous. So I've learned, you know, their type of farming. They do the where you just keep putting the soil on top. It's actually not appropriate to keep on grinding the soil every single year because then you mess with the biome.
Yeah, there
right?
you go.
And you need good bacteria and good insects, and you just pile it on, and then they move
we
around
gotta have
there.
insecticides on everything.
Oh my gosh! And then they have their chickens that are eating up all the grubs. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Instead
good.
of insecticides.
Yeah, it's called regenerative farming.
Mm-hmm.
So what they do is again, it's the natural way of doing things.
I thought chickens ate corn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah.
So,
But the goal truly is, I think, to support whole body.
Yeah.
That's really the end all.
the body needs some support sometimes, and the right way to do it is to aid the body to do it itself. There's very few things that are deficient in the body right from the beginning, and when when left to its own devices, the body will often heal itself,
Yeah.
given proper nutrition. You know, when children are born and growing up, they go from the mother's milk to the first thing they eat is generally sweet potato, because it's the most nutritious food in the world. You know.
Do you like sweet potatoes?
Oh yeah.
Do you? Smushed? Baked?
No, sliced and fried in butter. Yeah.
Take out all the nutrition in it. You fry it in butter.
It's
That's good.
amazing.
Yummy.
So.
What's your favorite food?
I'm basically a carnivore. So I'm pretty much.
You like meat?
I'm meat. Meat and eggs, and that's.
Do you do the paleo diet?
It's kind of a paleo, but it's pretty much very minimal amount. Really, no vegetables for me. That's going to make you crazy, but sorry.
Yeah.
Because Emily's a vegetarian, so
Yep.
but we still get along, right? And we
Yes.
don't have any beefs, do we?
No, Dad. No.
Okay, we're coming up towards the end of the show. So, Dr. Emily, can you give us a quick overview of what you do and who maybe should see you?
Yeah, so Dual Minds Integrative Psychiatry. You need to reach out to me if you have some problems, especially if you're a first responder or perinatal mood disorders. www.dualmindpsychiatry.com. And the goal is just to fix them to be able to support themselves. Not necessarily fix. I don't know why I said that, but to
We're
help
not broken.
support. You're not broken. Help support people to have whole body approach, to keep on working or doing what they enjoy doing and not having a complete mental breakdown.
And she also works with kids on the spectrum, does IEP, so does that. She's not a one-trick pony. She
Nope.
does more than one thing.
Nope.
So anything to do in a holistic approach, again, brand new building. So I can't recommend Dr. Emily enough. And Jamie, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for
Thanks for
coming on,
having me.
guys. And we'll see you next week. One of the most common questions I'm asked as a biochemist and health coach
is what are the best supplements to take. Choosing supplements is a tricky business. Many companies have poor quality control and questionable ingredients. In the past, I had to send clients to several different websites. I am now able to offer one-stop shopping for all the quality brands I recommend with no shipping cost and a lower price in most cases. Just email me, philgeorge@charter.net for a free consult.